Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Hmm.
This time, we're going to be looking at AI and weather forecasting. Specifically, Google DeepMind's latest AI model,
Hmm.
GenCast.
Yes.
It's generating a lot of buzz in the meteorological community, and not just because it's accurate, but because of how it actually predicts the weather.
Right. It's a really different approach.
Yeah, totally different from how we've always done it.
It's kind of a paradigm shift, actually.
Okay, so I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell me more about GenCast.
Well,
How does it actually work?
so it uses a type of neural network, but instead of predicting words, it predicts the next most likely weather event.
Okay.
And it was trained on a huge amount of data, historical weather data,
Huh.
from 1979 to 2018.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So they basically fed it decades
Right.
of weather patterns.
Right.
And then how did they test it to see if it actually worked?
So they had it generate forecasts for 2019.
Okay.
And the results were really remarkable, especially when it came to extreme weather events like heavy rainfall and strong winds.
That's great.
It outperformed traditional forecasting models.
When you say traditional forecasting models, you mean like those complex physics-based models?
Exactly. Those models have served us well for a long time,
Right.
but they're not without their limitations.
So GenCast doesn't have those limitations.
Well, it has different limitations.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All technology has limitations.
Right. GenCast actually still struggles with some things.
Like what?
Things like upper atmosphere conditions
Okay.
and predicting the intensity of hurricanes, things like that.
So why does it have trouble with those specific things?
Well, remember, AI is only as good as the data it's trained on.
Yeah, right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. And those events weren't really well represented in the training data,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so it's still being refined.
Well, even if it's not perfect yet, the potential benefits seem huge, right?
Absolutely.
Especially when you think about things like disaster preparedness.
I mean, imagine if we could predict a hurricane's path and intensity with even greater accuracy,
Yeah.
or anticipate a severe drought weeks or even months in advance.
That would be amazing.
Right. I mean, that kind of forewarning could save lives and money.
Yeah, for sure. And I read that GenCast can even help wind farms optimize energy production.
Right. It can determine the optimal times for wind farms to turn their turbines on and off,
Wow.
which helps them capture more energy.
A few percent more from what I read.
Yeah, something like that.
That's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this AI is revolutionizing weather forecasting in a lot of ways. But what about the human element? Are human meteorologists going to be out of a job?
No, not at all.
Really?
Actually, I'd say the role of human expertise is even more important now.
Okay, so why is that?
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
GenCast, it's a tool, a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
But it still takes a skilled meteorologist to interpret the data it produces.
Right, and make sure it makes sense.
Exactly, and to communicate those forecasts to the public.
So it's more about human-AI collaboration then.
Exactly, the combination of AI and human intuition and expertise.
I got it.
It's a powerful combination.
Okay, all this is fascinating, but honestly, I'm still wrapping my head around how a computer can predict something as complex and unpredictable as the weather.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing.
So are there any limitations or challenges that we should be aware of when we're talking about AI-powered weather forecasting?
Well, definitely. That's what we'll be diving into next.
Okay, I'm all ears. Stick around, folks. It's about to get even more interesting. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Before the break, we were talking about how AI is revolutionizing weather forecasting, but as with any new technology,
Right.
there are always going to be some challenges.
Yeah, definitely.
And we should discuss those too.
For sure.
You mentioned the GenCast still has trouble predicting things like upper atmosphere conditions and hurricane intensity.
Yeah.
What are some other limitations that researchers have encountered?
One of the biggest ones is having enough good data.
Oh, okay, so like data quality issues.
Yeah, exactly. GenCast needs a ton of data to learn and make accurate predictions, like any AI.
Right.
But historical weather data, it's not always complete.
Or accurate.
Or accurate, yeah, especially in certain parts of the world.
So if the data is bad,
Yeah,
the AI's predictions could be off too.
exactly, especially in regions where there just isn't a lot of good historical data.
I see.
And even if you have a lot of data,
Right.
it can still be tough to interpret it correctly.
Yeah, weather patterns are really complex.
Really complex, yeah.
So even the smartest AI might miss something important.
They can, yeah. And that's why human expertise is still super important, especially when you're making decisions based on those predictions.
That makes sense.
Like, think about it.
What?
These AI models are great.
Yeah.
They're really powerful,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not perfect.
Right.
You still need experienced meteorologists who can look at the data, who can say, okay, does this make sense?
And make sure we're not jumping to the wrong conclusions.
Exactly.
So AI is like a co-pilot then.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
You need both the technology and the human pilot's experience.
Right. You need both.
Speaking of navigation, I know AI is doing a lot to help predict hurricane paths,
It is.
which seems like a really important application.
Oh, it's huge.
So how exactly is AI helping us understand these massive storms?
Well, it can analyze tons of data.
Like what kind of data?
Well, everything.
Okay.
Satellite imagery, wind speeds, sea surface temperatures, you name it.
Okay. Wow.
And by looking at all that, AI can pick up on patterns that humans might miss,
Interesting.
which gives us a better understanding of how hurricanes form and how they move.
But can it actually tell us how strong a hurricane is going to get?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Hurricane intensity is really hard to predict, but AI is actually making some progress there too.
How so?
Researchers are developing models that can look at the structure of the hurricane's eye,
Oh, wow.
the shape of its clouds, all these subtle features, and use that information to try to figure out how strong it's going to be.
So we've been talking a lot about hurricanes,
Right.
which are obviously important.
Mm-hmm.
But AI is being used for more than just predicting storms, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's also being used to tackle climate change,
It is definitely.
which is, pretty big deal.
It's a huge issue.
So how is AI helping us understand and address climate change?
Well, it can analyze tons of climate data,
Like what kind of data?
temperature records, ice core samples, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And by looking at all of that, it can identify trends.
Mm-hmm.
It can help us figure out what's happening with the climate.
Yeah.
And it can help us predict what might happen in the future.
So it's like having a giant supercomputer,
Right?
analyzing all this data and giving us insights.
Exactly.
But with all this talk about AI, it's easy to forget about the human element.
Right.
So what does this mean for the future of, meteorologists and climate scientists?
That's a great question. And, a lot of people are wondering about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's about replacing human expertise.
Really?
I think it's about augmenting it.
Okay, so like AI and humans working together.
Exactly. They both bring different strengths to the table.
Okay, I like that.
AI can do the data analysis and the pattern recognition.
Right.
And humans can provide context, make judgments, and communicate those findings to the public.
It's kind of like a team effort.
It is, yeah, like a dynamic duo
Wow,
working
okay.
together to solve these really complex problems.
Okay, so AI is already changing how weather information is delivered to the public.
It is.
So are we going to start seeing like AI weather reports on the news?
I don't know about robots replacing meteorologists on TV,
Okay.
but I definitely think AI is going to play a bigger role behind the scenes.
Oh, interesting.
Like helping to generate forecasts and providing more detailed and accurate information.
So it's more about enhancing the tools that meteorologists use.
Exactly, not replacing the meteorologists themselves.
I like that.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
AI can help us analyze all this data
Right.
and find patterns that we might not see, but you still need those experienced meteorologists
Right.
to interpret those
Make
findings.
a sense of it all.
Exactly, and then communicate it to the public.
Well, so it's like the AI is like a research team.
Yeah,
And the meteorologist is the storyteller.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I like that.
And as AI gets better,
Yeah.
we can expect to see even more innovative stuff,
Oh, like what?
like hyper-localized forecasts.
Whoa, what's that?
Forecasts that take into account your specific location and your needs.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and personalized alerts,
What are those?
like warnings about weather events that could impact your day.
Oh, so like if there's going to be a hailstorm,
Exactly.
it'll tell me to park my car in the garage.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But this is still a new technology, right?
It is.
We're just starting to figure out how to use it.
Exactly.
So there are bound to be some challenges.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe even some unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So we need to be careful.
Yeah, we need to be mindful of the risks.
And make sure we're using this technology responsibly.
Absolutely.
So to recap,
Yeah.
we've talked about the limitations of AI, its role in predicting hurricanes, and how it can help us tackle climate change.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there to talk about? All right, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into AI and weather forecasting. We've covered a lot of ground, but I'm curious to hear more about how AI is being used to tackle specific weather challenges.
Well, one area where AI is really making a difference is hurricane prediction.
Yeah, those storms are always a bit of a wild card.
Exactly. They can be really unpredictable.
So how is AI helping us get a better handle on these powerful storms?
By analyzing huge amounts of data, historical hurricane data,
Okay, like what kind of data?
satellite imagery, wind speeds, sea surface temperatures, you name it.
Wow, that's a lot of information.
It is, but AI can sift through all that data
Mm-hmm.
and identify patterns that we might miss.
So it's like giving meteorologists a superpower
Kind of.
to see things they couldn't see before.
Right, and that helps us understand how hurricanes form and how they might behave.
That's fascinating.
Mm.
But can AI tell us how strong a hurricane is going to be?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It seems really hard to predict.
It is. Predicting hurricane intensity is one of the toughest challenges.
Yeah.
But AI is making some headway there, too.
Really? How so?
Researchers are developing AI models that can analyze the structure of the hurricane's eye,
Okay.
the shape of its clouds, all these subtle features.
And use that to predict its intensity.
Exactly. They're trying to find those telltale signs.
Wow. It's amazing how AI is giving us these new tools to understand and prepare for hurricanes. But let's zoom out a bit. We've been talking about short-term weather events, but what about the long game? Climate change.
Yeah, climate change is a big one.
Can AI help us with that too?
Definitely. AI is becoming essential in climate science.
Okay, how so?
It can analyze massive amounts of climate data from all over the world.
Wow, like what kind of data?
Everything. Temperature records, ice core samples, you name it.
And what can we learn from all that data?
Well, AI can help us identify trends, make predictions about future climate scenarios. It can even help us figure out the best ways to mitigate climate change.
So it's like having a crystal ball for the planet.
In a way, yeah. It gives us a glimpse into the future.
That's incredible. But with all this focus on data and AI, what happens to the humans?
Yeah, what about the meteorologists and climate scientists?
Are they going to be replaced by robots?
I don't think so. I think AI is more about augmenting human expertise.
Okay, so not replacing, but enhancing.
Exactly. It's about creating a powerful partnership between humans and AI.
So it's like a dynamic duo working together.
Exactly. AI can handle the heavy lifting of data analysis, but humans provide context.
Right.
We make judgments and communicate those findings to the public.
It's a team effort.
It is. It's about using the best of both worlds to tackle these complex problems.
Well said. It's clear that AI is already changing the game when it comes to weather forecasting. And it seems like the future holds even more exciting possibilities.
Definitely. We're just scratching the surface of what AI can do.
As we wrap up this deep dive, the biggest takeaway for me is that AI isn't just some sci-fi fantasy anymore. It's here, it's real, and it's changing the way we understand and interact with the weather.
I totally agree. And as AI continues to evolve, it's important that we have these conversations about
Yeah.
its implications, its potential benefits and risks.
Absolutely.
Huh.
We need to make sure we're using this technology responsibly.
Exactly. For the benefit of everyone.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up. Listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into AI and weather forecasting. It's been an incredible journey, and we hope you've learned something new along the way. As we've seen, AI has the potential to revolutionize our relationship with the weather and the planet as a whole. So stay curious, stay informed, and until next time, thanks for tuning in.